I was probably 15 or 16, early half of high school in any case, and I had never been, and am still not, the kind of person who was particularly interested in spelling bees and math Olympiads, and I just didn't see knowledge or thoughts and skills like that to be a competitive thing. I like the idea of creating together. Co-op mode. PvE rather than PvP, if you will. But, being first half of high school, still kind of feeling out my identity and my place and direction in life. And so when the teacher says to me, there's a, college out here, it's going to be doing a little math thing. I'd be curious to see how you do. And I don't know where the opportunity might lead. So, okay, let's check it out. We go over there for this. It's probably on a Saturday. And we all sit down and we're given these tests to do. And I remember distinctly thinking, I've learned none of this. Like, I don't know anything this is asking me about. I don't recognize the symbols. I don't understand the concepts it's explaining. I was in the first half of high school. I had not even touched these subjects. These aren't like, there's some math I had figured out because of game programming by that age, but there's lots of other math that I just flat out, literally no clue. But being a good sport, I figure, better to put down some partial credit stuff and just try, just explain what I could gather from it, just anything at all. And what happened from that was I did fairly well. And it's not because I somehow taught myself calculus without knowing it on the spot. My answers were absolute rubbish. Let's be clear, pure garbage was on my pages. But turned out so many other people who were there had blank answers. They didn't know how to do it, and so they didn't even try. They didn't strive for partial credit by just vomiting out whatever they could scramble by to make something happen. And for me, this was a useful lesson in the point that something existing imperfectly almost always beats it not existing at all. And this is an attitude I have found valuable for when I'm trying to get past that barrier that holds so many creative people up. In terms of game programming, in terms of pixel art, in terms of creating sound effects, in terms of writing for our games, whatever aspect of our game development or small business or personal lives or partnerships that we're looking at, realizing that imperfectly is better than not at all. That too many people out there say that they won't do it unless they get to it perfectly. And guess what? They're going to pass away before they ever get to do it, whatever it is, because it's never going to happen perfectly. Imperfection is a quality of something existing. That part of what happens is very early on, we're given such small, uninteresting problems, such one-dimensional problems to solve, that there is a perfect answer for it. There is a correct answer to spell that word in the spelling bee. There is a correct answer to this number plus that number. But as the problems grow in complexity, it gets to be a lot more squishy than that, right? It gets to be the point that anybody could take anything. The best-selling novels in history, the best-selling films, the most revered music, Shakespeare, and lots of other people could probably find some rational, good case to poke at how it's imperfect, how it's not how they think it ought to be done. But the reason they can poke those holes in it and say, well, this is imperfect is because it exists. If it hadn't existed, they couldn't do that. And so I think sometimes what happens is when we put things out of ourselves, we put it down, we see that this is not right, this is not perfect, and we hide it, and we bury it. And we bury not just the bad drawing, not just the bad program, not just the bad speech we gave, but we also bury our chance to further explore that identity, to try again, to try to get a little bit better at it, try to be a little less imperfect, in maybe a slightly interesting way, the next time later. There's a great line from Henry Van Dyke that the woods would be very silent if no birds sang there except those that sang best. And I think that sort of thing applies across the board to, again, writing, game development, painting, giving talks, social interactions. Whatever it is in our lives, realizing that if there's imperfections about it, it's because it exists. And as long as you can accept that, come to terms with that, and feel comfortable with that, you'll find that oftentimes that the options weren't, does it exist perfectly or not at all? The options are, does it exist imperfectly or not at all? Because there was no third option of perfection regardless. That when we give ourselves that freedom, we're able to do so many more things. Because we accept that, I'm not trying to play tennis at a professional level. I just feel like playing tennis. I don't need to be singing on a stage to feel like it's worth singing. I can just sing. I don't have to be a dancer who's paid to dance to justify dancing. And it's okay if it's imperfect. Every cell of our body, every single cell, inside and out, is constantly in flux. Is constantly expelling things and pulling things into it. And the reason it does is because it's out of balance. It's out of whack. It's all wrong. The only time that those fluctuations stop is when we're dead, is when we cease to exist. That imperfection that keeps us alive of those things coming in and out of us comes from existence, means that it's imperfect. That imbalance is the existence. And like I'm doing these YouTubes. Are some of these YouTube videos imperfect? Absolutely. Do I care? Not a lick. I'm going to keep on making more of them. And hopefully they'll keep getting more interesting or more different, or they'll find a new direction or something, but I'm okay with the idea that it's imperfect. I know it is, because it exists. Whatever your project might be, I'd be curious to hear down below if there's some things that you tried, that you did, that you realized, you know, yeah, it's not perfect, but you're maybe proud of it. Maybe you're happy that you got over yourself, you got over the perfectionism, you gave yourself a shot to make a song. Link me to your SoundCloud. Made a game. Link us to your itch. Whatever it is, share it down below. You know, it's another one of these videos. I think it's been several weeks ago when I did that one of share your portfolios, whatever. This one's, that was about put yourself out there. This is really about accepting, like, you know what? I made an imperfect thing. I wrote a story. I did a photo blog. Whatever it is. That, like, doesn't have to be grand. Doesn't have to be the best to justify existence. Doesn't have to be perfect, because it can't be. Those things are big, complex problems. Any problem that's interesting enough to be worth tackling as an adult, there's no perfect answer to. That's it for the day. Thank you, as always, for tuning in. I'll have another video for y'all tomorrow. Bye for now.